In casting Throne and Atlantis, in that it's a sequel to Justice League War, was your work kind of halfway done?
In a way, a lot of it was. The trick was getting the actors available, because they're all such busy working actors. So getting them available at a time when I was available, and the studio was available, and the producer was available. So that was a trick to get everything all to line up. But no, a lot of it was done for me. Thank you for mentioning that. That's absolutely true. Yeah.
And you had to recast a few people. You had to recast Superman, but with Jerry O'Connell, who you've worked with before as Shazam.
Absolutely, and that was just an availability issue. We just couldn't get, there were certain people that we always try to go back to, and sometimes we can't get them. And so we have to move on because we have to record, because animators are waiting for that track so they can animate. So that always is one of those things where you sort of go,
So when
so good.
So when Alan's not available, is Jerry the first thought that comes to mind?
There's so many people. I think of Tim Daly. I think of, so many other Supermans? I don't know. Supermen that I've worked with. And so we try to figure out who will fit better. Well, who will fit better with this particular group? It's going to be against this voice and this voice and this voice. Who's going to sound like they belong in this family? And so it's often.
Is there part of you that doesn't want to use Tim as Superman when we don't have Kevin as Batman? I mean, they do kind of go together.
They do, but I love working with both those guys that whenever I can get them, I'm happy. So my first question always when I'm given this job is, can I bring back anybody I've worked with before? And so if I can bring in Kevin Conroy, if I can bring in Tim Daly, beautiful. If I can bring in Jason O'Mara, if I can bring in Alan Tudyk, whatever I can work out, I'm happy with. There hasn't been one actor I've hired as any of these characters that I've not been happy with.
It's sort of a newer version of that origin story, and it's sort of a classic version of the origin story. So we see Arthur Curry growing up with his father in the lighthouse, and so we sort of hodgepodged a bunch of things together to make for a real emotional arc and story there.
And then did you use the bulk of what Jeff had written with Throne to sort of the plot of that part of the story?
I would say a lot of the machinations from Throne are in here, but because Aquaman doesn't know he's Atlantean, we're automatically off the rails. So there's going to be a lot of surprises for fans, but it's still going to make them really, really happy.
How familiar were you with Mira and the world of Aquaman, and honestly, her legacy in the DC universe when you got this role?
I was definitely more familiar with Aquaman. I definitely knew of Aquawoman. I had to do my research on Mira. I think that in doing it, I realized, oh my gosh, there's so much more than I knew initially going into it. So, I was somewhat familiar. I think to answer your question, somewhat familiar, but there's always more. There's always more you can learn, especially in the DC universe. There's always more, and there's always different interpretations, different histories, depending on what you're looking at.
We saw in Justice League War that Flash is a real fanboy for Batman and some of these other characters. Is that going to continue in this movie?
Yes, absolutely. His fanboyness, I don't know if that's a word. It's definitely not a word, but it continues. It's one of the nice through lines for this. And Flash is, he's the guy who really liked the idea of the Justice League, and that carries through here too.
Tell me about casting Aquaman.
Well, that's such an important character, aside from the fact that in this particular piece, it's his origin story. We meet him as a human with all the foibles and troubles, and he's angry and he's confused and he's just lost his father, he's mourning. And then we come to find out as the piece progresses that he's in line to rule a kingdom, happens to be under the water. That explains the gills and why he can hold his breath so well underwater. And to be a member of the Justice League. Those are two enormous life changes to take place in a 70-minute film. And so we had to find somebody, and I know Matt's work, and I've known Matt for a long time, and he was absolutely the right guy.
Tell me about Mira's relationship to Arthur Curry / Aquaman in this film.
I love their relationship because in this film, Mira gets to really guide Arthur through this huge personal discovery. He doesn't really know who he really is, where he really comes from, what he's really capable of. And I think to have someone like Mira guide him through that, it's such a huge personal discovery. It gave me so much to work off. I loved that aspect of it. And then, of course, getting to fight alongside him with the Justice League to protect Atlantis is, that's
that's pretty good.
that's the action sequence that we all want to see.
What's Flash's role in the Justice League? Where does he fit in with these rest of these characters and in obviously the plot of Throne of Atlantis?
Well, he's one of the keys in bringing everyone together. When they need to get everybody, he's the guy who goes out and gets everybody. So I think he's kind of the glue that holds some of these, very disparate characters together.
It was after we did Assault on Arkham, and they called and said that they were interested in me doing the sequel to this, and they sent me all the comics of the Throne of Atlantis arc, and then said, we don't know that this 100% works with our characters and our voices. What do you think we can do with this? And so I had to come in and basically say, all right, here's how we can do it. And myself and Mike Carlin and Alan Burnett, we all sort of knocked ideas around, and James Tucker, obviously, and until we broke the story for it.
Would you like to return, do Flash for another one of these DC movies?
Oh my God, I'll do them for as long as they want me to do them. I am so proud of these movies and just have such a blast doing it. So absolutely, yeah.